As we embark on the Great Canadian Farm Tour, it is important to acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of Indigenous peoples. Agriculture in the Classroom Canada recognizes and honors the enduring presence of the diverse Indigenous communities across Canada, including the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. We acknowledge the deep connection that Indigenous peoples have to the land, waters, resources, and all of agriculture. We express our gratitude for their stewardship and custodianship of these lands for generations. Agriculture in the Classroom Canada recognizes that acknowledging the traditional territories we reside and work on is only a small step towards reconciliation. We ask that we all continue to learn more about the Indigenous peoples in these regions, to consider the history and ongoing colonialism on this land, to reflect on how each of us can contribute to reconciliation. Hello, bonjour. Welcome everyone to our next stop on Season 3 of the Great Canadian Farm Tour. We are so excited to have everyone join us today from across Canada. My name is Mercedes Unwin from Agriculture in the Classroom Canada, and I will be your MC for today. Before we get started, we just want to provide a few reminders. For those who want to follow along in French, please use the Interprify link provided in the chat to access the interpreting and closed captioning services provided for this event. We ask that everyone is mindful that this is an educational event, so any inappropriate conduct happening in the chat, such as spamming and improper comments, will not be tolerated. Throughout the tour, we welcome you to post your questions in the chat to get them answered. We will answer as many questions as possible. The mystery word for your student activity books will appear at the end of this episode, so please stick around. Finally, we would love to know where everyone is joining us from. Please comment in the chat your school and location. Now, we would like to welcome our next tour host of the Great Canadian Farm Tour, Ken and Corey. So Ken will be running the tour and Corey is going to be handling the backstage of running the camera. So here's Ken and Corey right now. Ken is just standing right beside a great beef cow right now. So say hello, Ken, to everyone.
Hello there.
Yeah, so we're very excited to have both of you here with us today. So before we get started with you taking over, Ken, I just want to ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself and Corey.
Okay, we're the third generation on our mixed farm out west of Edmonton, Alberta. My grandfather started back in the late 20s, and our folks, or my folks, continued on. And then now we have our son involved, and our grandkids seem to be interested as well. They're young, but they're interested as well. So we run purebred Simmental and Angus cattle. We've run Simmental cattle for the last 50 years, and the Angus about the last 30 years. We calve in 2 periods of the year on our cows. We calve about 40% of them in the cold in January, and the other 600 in the we're just starting to calve now in late April, May at another location. So in all, we calve about 1,000 cows between the two groups. Where we are here at Spruce Grove, we put the majority of our feed up. We run a good sized grain production farm with wheat, barley, and canola, as well as corn. We grow seed potatoes as well, about 500 acres of seed as well, and that rotates through our crops. So we're a mixed farm that was very involved in the purebred industry as well as the seed production.
Oh, wonderful. So thanks for giving us a little bit of a snapshot on the diversity of your farm, what you have there, and who all is involved. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this screen and hand it over to you and Corey to start taking us on a walkabout of your farm. and showing us all the great animals that I see are just walking around you. And I'll be back to prompt you with some questions from the students who are watching this tour from across Canada. So goodbye for now, and then I'll hand it over to you, Ken, to get started on taking us around your farm.
Okay, great. Where we are right now, we run a little feedlot here, and which is kind of multi-purpose. Right now, these heifers that we're in the middle of here, they're our breeding stock, which is the majority is retained for for in herd, but we do sell some females as well. So these red heifers here, we're just cleaning up. There's a bull in here. We've gone through and AI'd them all, artificially inseminated them to bulls, and they're some walking bulls are just cleaning them up here. So you can see, for instance, these red heifers. Some are solid red, some with white on their face. They're all purebred Simmental, and these all these heifers around us here were either born basically 15 months ago or about 18 months ago. Like our summer heifers, which we call our summers calving out, starting now, they're older. So anyways, we've kept them, and they're kind of the late end of our summers, and we keep them. So they're just about 23 months now. We'll go and walk through here. As you can see, like the black heifers on the other side of the fence, actually those red tagged heifers are they're a straight Angus heifer, straight black Angus heifer. Orange tags are purebred Simmental heifers.
As you're showing us, Ken, a quick clarification question, and then I have a question from a student, Olivia. What is a heifer? Is it a female cow? Is it a certain part of their life cycle that they're referred to as heifers?
Yeah, great question. And a heifer is a female who has not been in calf or had a calf yet. So heifers are all basically, this is their first time of breeding and to become into the motherhood program.
Okay, wonderful. And then our question from Olivia, she wants to know if there are any calves right now on your farm.
Yes, there is. If we'll go and work up to some calves, they're about 2 months old now, so they're about 300 pounds. Corey, if you can kind of shoot outwardly, if you look on the screen now, there's pairs out there, a little by the turquoise building, and the different red and black groups, and you can see calves at a distance there. They're with their mothers nursing, and we run them in smaller groups just from a health standpoint and breeding, so they're run, more selective in what bulls, etc., exposed to them. But we will work our way back up, and we will get you some younger calves close up there. So as well, this facility, what we have in here now is predominantly breeding stock. We also feed for beef production in terms of some of these cattle as well may fall out and not get bred, or we just are not as excited about them. Well, what we'll end up doing with some of those is feeding them a higher energy ration, which will be more grains in it, and they will end up becoming in your supermarket. They will be slaughtered and end up in, either in ground or a steak that your folks will be purchasing at the grocery store.
Ken, we have another great question for you, and it's from Danny, who is wondering how much beef can you get from one cow?
Another good question. What you will find when on a cow, about 60% of its live body weight, and I'm referring to an animal with fat cover, but up about 60% of its live weight will end up being saleable meat off that animal. In the and of course a cow will a mature cow will be a little bit less, more of 55%, but kind of that mid 50 to 60 is what's achievable there. And I guess the other thing, just to comment on the actual live weight at time of slaughter, is kind of really ideal from 1,400 pounds or 650 kilos to 800 kilos, 1,600 pounds. These cattle we're looking at, we're amongst right now, we're kind of in that 450 to 600 kilos now. The feed bunk right here is what they eat out of, and so we'll kind of go through some our feeding equipment, etc., just shortly here. But this is what we call a silage ration. Silage is a product of a cereal grain plant, wheat, barley, corn, that is harvested and chopped up at a moisture level of about 55 to 60%, and then it's hauled into the yard and packed, and it ferments. It's nice smelling product. The cattle really like it and do well with it. And then you can mix some grains, minerals, etc. in with that as well. Some cut hay. Some of this coarser material is cut hay and straw in the ration.
Another great question. Sorry if I mispronounce it, but I'll do my best. Zaina wants to know what the cow's favorite food is. So is that their favorite food that you're just showing us, or is there something else they really like eating?
Probably as a favorite food for cattle, period, would be beautifully lush green grass. They, really like it and do well on it. And so the silages and all of the processed feed, etc., is more for the cow and calf in the off season, and when there is no green grass. We're feeding for basically 6 months of the year. We can sometimes get some later grazing after the plants have gone dormant, but that lush green flush of grass in June, June, early July is probably the favorite, as well with our potato production. And we'll show you. We feed some cull potatoes, which don't make the grade for seed, and the cattle like them a lot as well. And we'll walk by some of them shortly. In fact, we'll start moving that way now.
Yes, I was going to say, Ken. Let's start moving to our next section, and then as you're walking, maybe we'll do a question or two.
Okay.
So keep on walking, and then we'll have our first question pop up in a moment. So Jack asks, what is the difference between the brown and the black cows? And then is there anything special or anything different about them?
There, there is um, our Simmental breed, which I referred to. The two breeds that we have are Simmental and Angus. And the Simmental cattle originated in Europe um, as about 50 some years ago. So when we look at them, what we have done here in North America and different parts of the world is upgraded traditional Angus cattle, which were in this country for the last 100 years, that come from the UK. So the Angus cattle are a breed that are a little bit different than the Simmental, but we've used Simmental and upgraded starting with an Angus cow and ended up of purity of Simmental genetics, but we've retained that black hair color and red hair color. The Angus breed, as I referred to earlier as black, also there is a red breed of Angus as well.
Wonderful. Thanks for answering that question. So we're almost at our commercial break, which is about 1 minute long. But what we'll do is, Ken, is there anything you'd like to wrap up in this part before we go to our commercial break? And then we'll probably do a couple questions too from our amazing students who are watching today.
Okay, we're just leaving the feedlot with something that we could just finish off on is our cattle handling facility, which is under roof right here, and which is a squeeze to retain to hold the cattle. Our artificial insemination or preg checking or vaccinating is all done through systems like this, which make it very safe for the cattle and the people, and you can, treat them very well without hurting them and do what you're needing to do with them.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. And then just for all the kids watching today, so artificial insemination is the act of getting the cow pregnant. Why would you do that?
What it allows is the ability to use a really broad spectrum of different bulls that you have access through frozen semen. So what it is, you're breeding the heifer or cow to a bull that you possibly don't own or don't have possession of or has died, etc. So that stored frozen semen becomes a very big component of our breeding. Plus the AI, you can, you need a lot more bulls to cover them naturally, and we can AI, as well as that bull of real popularity can basically be sourced all over the world in cows to, improve the breeds around the globe.
Wonderful. Thanks for explaining artificial insemination or AI a little bit more. So we're going to do a couple questions and then go into our commercial break. So let's bring up the very first question. During winter, do the cows stay inside? And this is asked by Terry Lynn.
Okay, a very good question. We tend to keep our cattle outside all year as much as possible. However, when we are calving in the cold in January, we will have them right outside of the barn, and they will either calve in the barn or we'll monitor them shortly after calving that they'll come into the barn. And as well as that, we provide wind protection in the winter, keeping them outside. We provide wind protection, and as well, we use a lot of straw bedding in the winter to keep the cattle warm. So they're pretty durable. We're fortunate out here that the ground freezes in the winter, and we're not, fighting mud, etc. So we tend to be kind of a dry cold, and the bedding works well, wind protection, and as I referred to calving them, them young ones, you gotta look after them, at birth and for a day or two after.
Hey, wonderful. Thanks for answering that question. We'll do one more and then go into our commercial break, which is about 1 minute long. So our very last question in this first half of our tour is Matthew is wondering, how big is your land?
Our land base, we work with all together about 11,000 acres. And on the two locations, as I've said earlier, we crop about 5,000 acres in total, and then we've got a lot of grassland for the cattle, as well as hayland that will be put up for either haylage, which is a silage process, or make hay and then graze as well.
Okay, wonderful. So now we're going to go into our first commercial break, and then Ken's going to start walking over to our next part and our last half of this segment. So we'll see you all in 1 minute. And we are back. So Ken, we're going to get started on the next part of the tour of your farm. So I'm going to hand it back over to you.
Okay. I'm just walking up to a silage pile. Well, it's actually a haylage pile, and that haylage is alfalfa, grasses, etc. So a hay field that has been cut and then run through a chopper, and then brought to the yard, and then put into pile and packed. So that's a component of what the cattle are eating. We're just going to kind of move along quickly here. The wagon that Corey's going to get in the picture, that's what we use to mix the silages, and dry hay and grain, etc., potatoes. And that's this is kind of what this product here has potatoes mixed in it. As you can see on the ground there's really not much grain in this, but it kind of gives you an idea. That loader that's in the next to the wagon there, that's what fills the wagon. And then we go in those bunk lines. This red this red wagon distributes right into the bung. So that's the way a lot of the cattle out in out here are fed, of course, when they aren't on grass. And Corey's just going to scan another silage pit. That is cereal silage, which is a wheat plant, again, cut at 50% or so moisture and then hauled home and packed. We'll just quickly move over.
As you're walking, Ken, Carrie is asking, when did you start farming? Did you start young?
Yes, I did. I basically, the only job I've ever had is involved here on the farm, right out of school, and so we've been at it for some time and enjoy the life and enjoy what we're doing, and our kids have been involved and through 4-H and what have you, and it's been very good. So here is we use a square baler, so that's a hay bale, and so some of that goes into some of the rations. You can see in behind here we've got those potato piles, and the smaller pile to the right is potatoes that we've processed. We've got a bucket that goes on a loader, and then we process them and make them smaller, which chips them up so they don't choke at all. There can be a risk of that bigger potato getting lodged, so we like to process them, and the cattle still love them as much. We're going to quickly move up to our barn, and we can show you our sale ring and what have you that we use for our bull sales and female sales, etc. We're just going by some bins, grain bins, and they're what we store grain after been harvested and either market it or feed it.
As you're walking, we had a couple questions. So how many acres of land are used for growing potatoes? And do you grow different types of potatoes?
Yes, we grow about 500 acres of seed potatoes. About half of the production is for Frito-Lay, which are the Lay's potato chips that you get in the store. We would be contributing one generation ahead. So our seed goes to growers that would grow them, and then they would, our customers would produce the potato that's cut up, as well as our russets, which is about the other half, which is like a netted gem Idaho Baker. The majority of those, again, our customers growing them would go to become a McDonald's French fry. So the two different potatoes are quite a bit different, even though they're a potato, or their purposes are different.
Wonderful. Thanks for answering that, Ken. I just want to mention that there's a lot of comments in the chat about your dog. So we just want to make sure that you're aware of that. A lot of students across Canada are very much in love with your dog. Does he have a does he have a specific role on the farm? Does he have a name?
Well, Rev is the one, I believe, that's been in the picture, and they're my son and daughter-in-law, and of course their kid's dog, and what they are is a blue heeler, and there's another old one here that's kind of more on retirement age, but they're known as very good livestock dogs. I just want to comment one other thing. We've got as well today, my nephew who looks after the potatoes, etc. His wife and son or kids have got the, I believe it's the daycare class out here on a tour. So it's interesting. We're educating the youth on two different counts here, one nationally and one locally.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. And we very much appreciate you doing this tour. So we're going to let you finish off, and then we'll do some more questions just to kind of wrap up too.
Okay, this old dog here is the senior one I was referring to. That's his name is Woody, and my son's had him for, oh, I don't know, he must be 10 or 12 years old. Are you picking me up all right there?
Yes, just keep it slow when you're walking, but we can still see you as you're walking through here.
Okay. We're just going to end up in our sale barn, which will kind of, how are we doing for time there?
We have a few more minutes, so feel free to wrap up. We'll do a couple last minute questions, and then we'll close off with our mystery word.
Okay, we're in our sale facility here, and we had our 39th bull sale this year, which it's always the last Saturday of February. Now, some of the ring has been taken down and what have you, but gives you a bit of an idea of we bring the cattle right into the ring, the bulls right into the ring, and they make a few loops, and Corey is scanning the crowd or the seating, and so this is our sale facility as well. We have it. These bleachers come out, and we'll calve in here as well in the cold.
Hey, wonderful. Thanks for sharing your sale facility. Let's do a couple more questions before we hand it over to you for final words, Ken. So let's get our first question up. So Caden is wondering if all the cows have names. I know you pointed out like an ear tag. Is there names associated with those tags? And what would the tags be used for? Ooh, did you get me, Ken? Or did I lose you?
The tags are, there's two sets of tags on every animal, and one is relates to her tattoo. And to answer the question of are they named, yes, they are named, but some of them will be generic names, more relative to, there's lots of Miss Lewises out there. And a lot of the time they will be named with their mother enhanced in that. So it'll be our tattoo LFE, and it will have LFE is her prefix, and then it'll be their mother's name in that as well. Getting back to the tags, the big tag will be in relation to that tattoo, as well as the small tag is what is an electronic tag that also has, I believe it's 8 digits, but it's what's called an RFID tag. So what that tag allows us as cattle producers, that is a national ID program that everybody is to tag their cattle with. So the traceability back to where it's possibly killed in the plant. If there's any issues, you can trace back to where it spent a number of its days in a feedlot, and then also back to the herd of origin. So it's an incredible, great ID system nationally.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. And then our last question that we're going to do is, again, I apologize if I mispronounced this, but Kehan would like to know, what's your favorite thing about livestock farming?
I think it's very rewarding, feeding our part in feeding the world with a very high quality product for that everybody can has the opportunity to take a piece of on the kill cattle side. On our live breeding side, we've been at this for a number of years. We've feel we've improved our customers' cow herds significantly over the last 50 years. So it's kind of a number of things that keep us going as well with the cattle. In all of the purebred breeds in Canada, there's great opportunity for kids' involvement in terms of showing and learning about the cattle. 4-H is a great vehicle for kids to be involved, and so it's all kind of part of the thing. I think it's from the standpoint of family dynamics, the cattle business offers the most to cattle. The cattle business offers some more family dynamics than anything in agriculture.
Wonderful.
Corey,
Thanks. Does Corey have anything to add?
Have you got anything you want to add? She's just panning some of the shots, of different activities with the cattle, the showing, the sale component, a newborn baby calf getting licked off by its mother.
Wonderful. So just as we're wrapping up here, Ken, do you have any final comments that you'd like to share?
No, I'm thankful we've been given the opportunity to help educate, inform, whatever, kids across Canada. And thank you very much from everyone here at Lewis Farms, and good luck there to your schooling.
Oh, thanks so much. I know I learned something new today, and I just want to say again, thank you to everyone for joining us. And before we close off this episode, and thank you patiently for waiting, I'm excited to share the mystery word is great or grand. So thank you again for joining us for this episode of the Great Canadian Farm Tour. Our next stop will be next week on May 1st at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time at a tomato greenhouse in Quebec. So Ken and I and Corey are just going to say goodbye for now to all of you. So we're just going to wave everybody, and I hope you all have a great, fantastic day.